Today we're at the Trail Canyon Trailhead in the Mount Charleston Wilderness. And this is the official beginning of the 6-peak circuit run. Been planning this for a couple of years. Can never guarantee what's going to happen, but this is what I intend. I intend to summit 6 10,000 foot plus peaks in around 24 hours. I'd like to be under 24 hours, but no promises. I've been planning this for a couple of years. The run involves, it's actually run, hike, walk, crawl, drag myself. It involves summiting Harris Mountain, followed by Griffith Peak, then Charleston Peak, then Lee Peak, then Mummy Mountain, and finally Fletcher Peak. There are some major wilderness areas along this route. There's a longest wilderness area, which is between the South Climb Trailhead, and we're going to head down to the South Climb Trailhead to begin. The wilderness between the South Climb Trailhead and Harris Mountain, and then on to Griffith Peak, that's all wilderness area. I want to hit that in the light. It is 10:15 a.m. On a Friday, and so the plan is to hit Griffith Peak in the light, and then I've got trails. It's going to be dark shortly after Griffith Peak. I'm thinking Griffith Peak around 7 p.m. and then on to Charleston Peak and Lee Peak in the dark, Mummy Mountain in the dark, and there's a wilderness area around Lee Peak and a wilderness area before Mummy Mountain. The top of the north ridge of Kyle Canyon, where I'll be traversing that wilderness between Lee Peak and Mummy Mountain. Hopefully by Mummy Mountain it will be light again, and then I head down the east side of Mummy Mountain and connect with Mummy Springs and Fletcher Peak, and then back to this Trail Canyon Trailhead. So that is the plan. What exactly is going to happen is your guess as good as mine, but and by the way, water wise, I've got I'm carrying 8 liters of water at the moment, and I've got 3 more liters stashed on top of Mummy Mountain. Water is the most essential. I've got 12 power bars. I'm thinking like 2 power bars on top of each peak. And I will be totally sick of power bars by the end of this run. And what else have I done to prepare? Well, those are the main things. I've got a light. Wait till you see this light that I bring out in the dark. It's like the headlight of a car. It's amazing. So I'm going to actually need that because of the wilderness area I may be traversing in the dark. And what else do I have? Oh, I've got a really powerful battery recharger for my phone and for the light if I need it. Got a couple backup lights, so I figure light and water and power bars should do me well. And beyond that, it's just a matter of carrying this weight that I have now. Like I said, 8 liters of water. This is mighty heavy, but I believe that I will need it before we're all done. So that's the overall plan, and let's go ahead and get started, see what happens. Here's our first target, Harris Mountain. All these 6 peaks are above 10,000 feet. Harris is around 10,300. So here we go. Here's a quick shot of Cathedral Rock on the right, Harris Mountain on the left, and the saddle with its cliff in between. We're going to the South Climb Trailhead, then we're going to angle down through the Rainbow Subdivision, and then head on up the ridge on the left side, going down the left of Harris Mountain. So the first big challenge will be getting through the Rainbow Subdivision. Without getting stopped or attacked by a dog or something that happens in those kinds of places. Okay, here we go. We've just passed the South Climb Trail parking area. Now we're in a recreational area just beyond. Kind of interesting, the theme of this area, and there are interpretive trails here, is interpreting avalanche slopes. So a lot of today's experience is going to be on avalanche slopes. So we're going to head to the bottom of this area, and then through the Rainbow Subdivision, then up to Harris Mountain. So here we go. By the way, here's a 360. Just let you know where we are. Beautiful area here. And today is going to be pretty much immersed in the wilderness. Successfully passed the first challenge, which is the Rainbow Subdivision. And as we look around, there's the last house in the Rainbow Subdivision. And here is the last road. This is where I leave the road. And head straight up the ridge there. We get to the top of the ridge and then head up that ridge all the way up to Harris Mountain, which is our first summit. It is 106 degrees in the Las Vegas Valley today. I think it's around 80, between 80 and 85 right now, but there's a cool breeze. And as we ascend, we're about 7,000 feet right now, maybe 7,200. As we ascend toward Harris Mountain, it should get cooler once we hit the top of this ridge up here. We should get a real nice breeze. Cool me off. It's important to stay as cool as possible because heat causes the loss of water. And by the way, here's the third summit, Charleston Peak. Looking back at Charleston Peak. And there's the fifth summit, Mummy Mountain. So we'll see a better view of all of them as we proceed. But for now, at least, we have passed the Rainbow Subdivision and we are now in the wilderness. Okay, here we go. It's 12:35 and we're well on our way up the ridge to Harris Mountain. And there is the summit ahead of us. There's a false summit followed by a summit. And it looks like, according to my altimeter, we've got a couple thousand feet left to go. So it's a lot steeper further than it looks, actually. And let's get a 360-degree view. There are the cliffs at the other side of the Harris Griffith Saddle. And up there is Griffith Peak. And notice the clouds. I hear a little bit of thunder. Not fortunately where I am, but oh, and here's Charleston Peak. And Lee Peak. Mummy Mountain. And Fletcher Peak. So there you can see all 6 peaks that we're shooting for. And then as we look around us, looking down is the Charleston Lodge, Kyle Canyon, and then back to Harris Mountain. Okay, onward. Take another quick look around. We're still approaching Harris Peak, or Harris Mountain. There's Fletcher Peak, Mummy Mountain, Lee Peak, Charleston Peak, and Griffith Peak. And here we are moving up toward Fletcher Peak. And actually it's a mountain. The difference is how much between a peak and a mountain is how much clearance. I think it has to have something like 500 feet of clearance from the hills around it before they call it a mountain. So anyway, and you can see the Charleston Observatory coming into view now. Hearing thunder up in the sky around us. We hope that those clouds are not heading straight for us. It's no fun to be in a thunderstorm up in the mountains. Could be life-threatening. But there you go, there's the thunder. I don't know if it'll come through on the video, but you can hear it. We just keep moving forward. Okay, onward. Another 500 to 1,000 feet to go. I believe that is the summit of Harris Mountain up there. And let's take a look around us. Well, I predicted and prepared for everything but rain. Actually, with a temperature in Las Vegas Valley of 106 today, this is pretty refreshing. So let's just take a look real quick. There is Griffith Peak. Charleston Peak. Lee Peak. Mummy Mountain, and Fletcher Peak. Once again, our first mountain summit is Harris Mountain, which I believe is right up there. I'm within, I think it's got to be around 500 feet because the rain is causing the altimeter to show a lower altitude, lower pressure drop, lower pressure than we would normally have here, and so that pushes the altitude down. So I believe we are actually rather close to Harris Mountain Summit. And by the way, there is Cathedral Rock and Charleston Village. It is now 1:52. We should be at Harris Mountain by the 5-hour point. By the way, here's the ridge that I just ascended. Avalanche slopes everywhere. You see where that ridge ends down there? Actually, if you took a left and headed straight down that avalanche slope, that would be the route that I took. And then, of course, this avalanche slope right here, and followed by another avalanche slope up there. But I think it's starting to even off a little bit. We hope. And let's hope that's not a false summit too. We'll see. Okay, onward. Well, here we are. 1 peak down, 5 to go. This is Harris Mountain. That's the summit. And let's take a look around what we can see. Oh, let's see. Okay. There's Griffith Peak. Charleston Peak. Lee Peak. Mummy Mountain. And Fletcher Peak. Five peaks to go. We're above 10,000 feet right now. And we need to descend about 1,500 feet down to the saddle. And then ascend to Griffith Peak. So that's definitely going to take a little bit of energy. I feel like I've lugged 1,000 gallons of water up to the top of this mountain. It is 2:47, which makes it 4.5 hours from the Trail Canyon trailhead to Harris Mountain. A lot of wilderness, a lot of avalanche hills. And there's Centennial Hills down in that direction. And love that La Madre Mountain. There it is. You see the Devil's Slide on there. It looks like a white snowfield. And when it's glistening in the sun, it really looks like a snowfield. And here is Bridge Mountain above Red Rock Park. And then you can see to the right of it, Rainbow Mountain, and then Mount Wilson. So you see those three mountains there. And looking down this way, Potassi Mountain. And let's take a look over this way once more. See what we can see. Well, there's Lovell Canyon down in this direction. Beautiful, beautiful canyon. And that ridge in the distance is the south ridge of Griffith Peak, which I will climb at some point. But in the meantime, today, we're going to go up this ridge. We're going down into the down into, I'm getting loopy here, but we're going down into the saddle. That's what I was looking for, the word saddle. We're going down to the saddle and then up the opposite ridge. And my goal is to hit the summit of Griffith Peak before dark so that I can then travel on trails through the night to Mount Charleston and to Lee Peak. We will see how that goes. I've got, what is it, 2:45 approximately, so I've probably got until 8 o'clock easily with sunlight. It's about the longest day of the year right now. So this was timed just right. Doesn't help to have all these clouds. The thunderstorm, fortunately, disappeared. And the rain was just a little bit of rain to cool us off. Not a bad thing. Kind of interesting. There are, I don't know if you can see them, ladybugs all over the place on this peak. It is huge swarm of ladybugs. I've heard that they go for the mountains. Never seen so many ladybugs in one spot. Okay, well, we've got to continue moving forward, so let's continue onward over to Griffith Peak. Okay, here we go. Down Harris Peak toward the saddle, toward the Harris Griffith saddle, and then up the ridge to Griffith Peak. We're approaching the Griffith Harris saddle. And you can see we've got the cliffs on the other side. To skirt to the left. And then on up the ridge to Griffith Peak. It'll be about a 2,500 foot climb from the saddle up to Griffith Peak. So that's like almost a total reset in altitude and starting over again. The good news is that, as you can see, the weather has improved. We're not dealing with thunderstorms. So that's a nice thing. It is now a little past 3:30, let's say 3:45, and so that gives me, I'd say I need to be up at Griffith Peak by 8:30, no later than 8:30 if I'm going to hit the light. So here we go. Just had to show this. This is one pretty cool field of wildflowers, lupine. An entire field of mountain wildflowers hidden away up here. Who would know? Here's a look back at Harris Mountain, the saddle. And by the way, the saddle is where that last field of wildflowers, lupine, was located. And guess what we have here? Indian paintbrush. Lots of beautiful wildflowers this time of year. And then here's the cliff. I need to skirt up, left, and around and up to that ridge above and to the left of the cliff. So here we go. Just had to take one good shot of Lovell Canyon, beautiful Lovell Canyon, before we head up this cliff and then over to the ridge above and then on to Griffith Peak. There's Lovell Canyon. And Harris Mountain. Okay, here we go. Well, it's time we took stock of where we are. I'm tied up in the cliffs here on the ridge to Griffith Peak. And I'm hoping there's an opening right up there, because that is my only hope, straight ahead. There's no getting around the other side there. So hopefully straight ahead we're going to be able to circumvent these cliffs. Once I circumvent these last cliffs here, it's a pretty easy ridge to the summit of Griffith Peak. And here we are in the sunset, some beautiful views here. There you can see Lovell Canyon, Potassi Mountain in the background. You can see here Bridge Mountain, Rainbow Mountain, and Mount Wilson. You can even see part of Rainbow Wall. So there's some really good views here. And then looking down through this way, you can see the part of the Las Vegas Strip. And then over this way, there's Harris Mountain. So here we are in the cliffs, and our main hope is right up through that, what looks like it could be a pass. If it's not, we're in trouble. Okay, here we go. Wow, I believe I've topped the last cliff, and I'm now on the upper ridge. So it's just a marathon steady uphill from here on out, I believe. We'll see. Anyway, we've broken out into the opening. You can see a number of things. There's Mummy Mountain. Great shot of Mummy Mountain. Looking down through Kyle Canyon. Harris Mountain. Centennial Hills. Las Vegas Strip. And La Madre Mountain. Lovell Canyon and Potassi Mountain. And then the remainder of the trip up to Griffith Peak. And there's Griffith Peak in the background. I'm so glad the clouds are gone. Well, I mean, they're not gone, but they're at least not threatening anymore. A lot of blue sky. So things are turning out very good about now. Did I say that was Centennial Hills? There it is. Okay, and then you can see the path from Harris Springs Road up to Harris Mountain Summit. So there you have it. Let's continue on up and hit Griffith Peak. That'll be peak number 2 out of 6. We're closing in on Griffith Peak. Peak number 2. There it is right ahead. And I'm getting a second wind. So, wow, it feels good to be off those avalanche slopes. There's still some steep climbing to do, maybe another 300 to 500 feet to the summit of Griffith Peak. But the worst is over, at least this wilderness section, and navigating the cliffs between Griffith Peak and Harris Mountain. It's right down there. Wow. Those cliffs and avalanche slopes on the way up to Harris Mountain from the South Climb trailhead, and then after the saddle, wow, after the saddle between Harris and Griffith, I got hung up in those cliffs. And I tell you, that was slow going, but now it just feels so good to be up here. It's nearly sunset. So we're going to see some beautiful views. And this is a perspective that I do not see because I don't see it very often because I'm not up here at sunrise or sunset. Today I'm going to hit both sunrise and sunset, and that's just going to produce some amazing views. So looking forward to that. Just to show some of the things that have come into view here. Of course, there's Harris Mountain straight ahead, but then off to the right, There we have a great view of Gas Peak in the sunset. And maybe we'll get an even better view before we're done. And then to the left of Gas Peak, you can see a valley, and then that ridge system right in the center here is Fossil Ridge. And then we go to the Sheep Range. And here we have Mummy Mountain. Lee Peak. Charleston Peak. And of course, straight ahead, Griffith Peak. So here we go. Let's get up to the summit of Griffith Peak now. Okay, we are closing in on peak number 2, Griffith Peak. And the sun is setting, creating beautiful shadows and silhouettes. So I'll just walk it over to Griffith Peak, but yeah, just look around here. So amazing. I'm seldom able to be up here in the sunrise or the sunset. And there's just a beauty in, up in the mountains, sunrise and sunset, that is unbeatable. And so let's just walk it over to the summit box for Griffith Peak. Look at those silhouettes. So totally amazing. We're at 11,060 feet here. Harris Mountain was about 10,300. And peak number 3 will be Charleston Peak at 11,900. So that'll be the highest peak. I'm figuring that since every time I summit one of these mountains, I have to descend and then reascend again to the next mountain, that if you add all the ascents that I'm going to make, yeah, there's the summit box up ahead. If you add up all the ascents that I'm going to make during this trip, provided I make the 6-peak circuit, there's probably going to be about 10,000 feet elevation gain. And we'll see how it goes. I'm feeling really good right now. It just feels so good to be up on Griffith Peak. Charleston Peak is 900 feet higher, but again, in order to get to Charleston Peak, I've got to descend at least 500 feet or more. There's the summit box. I love this little summit box on Griffith Peak. It's on a post. All the other summit boxes are in the ground. This one's on a post. So here we are, the summit of Griffith Peak, peak number 2 of the 6-peak circuit. Let's see. So let's take a quick look around. There's Charleston Peak. That's peak number 3. Lee Peak is peak number 4. Mummy Mountain is peak number 5. And Fletcher Peak is peak number 6. So rather soon, I guess I've got a couple hours of light left, maybe an hour and a half. Then it's going to be pitch dark, and we'll see how much light that my super bright headlamp, that's like the headlamp of a car, the headlight of a car. We'll see how we can get video in the middle of the night that, actually you can see anything. So we'll find out. Here's a beautiful view. There's the Las Vegas Strip. Okay. So that concludes Griffith Peak. And now let's see how far we can get toward Charleston Peak before we lose the light. At least we'll be on established trails. So with those trails, along with my super nuclear headlamp, I should be able to make it through the night. Okay. Signing off for now. Want to get as many videos, or just a few shots at least, of the sunset. And soon it will be dark in another, probably 1 to 2 hours, 1.5 hours probably. It's going to go in darkness, and then we won't have many videos at all. But here's a shot looking back at Griffith Peak. We are at the junction. And this is there's a little camping spot. This is the junction of the trail from, the South Climb Trail. And, well, we're not going to be able to see it too well here. But it's the junction of the South Climb Trail, where you can either go up to Griffith Peak, or if you go this way, you're going to Charleston Peak, which is the way we're going. And, boy, look at these bristlecone pines in the sunset. So beautiful. So onward. Let's maybe we'll get one more shot before the sun goes down, and then we're in darkness until tomorrow morning. I'm going to see if I can continue going through the night, It just depends what my energy level is. No promises. Okay, here we go. Here you have the sun setting over the Spring Mountains, leaving a silhouette. Very beautiful. On the right is Charleston Peak. And then moving around, there's the Lee Peak is behind the trees there. Let's see if we can get a better shot of Lee Peak. There you go. Lee Peak, Mummy Mountain, Fletcher Peak behind the tree. I don't think I'm going to get a better shot of Fletcher. There you can see a burn area. I think it's from 2013. We'll be entering into a larger burn area. Looks pretty cool in the sunset. The larger burn area will be in pitch dark. So this, and there you see Griffith Peak in the sunset. So beautiful sunset for the Spring Mountains. Okay, signing off. Just wanted to get one more video in. Sun setting. We're about a quarter of the way between Griffith Peak and Charleston Peak. We hit Griffith Peak, by the way, it was about 7 o'clock. And I'm predicting Charleston Peak by maybe 10:30, but no promises on that one. There's Griffith Peak in the setting sun. And we're deep into the burn area. You can see the trees silhouetted in the setting sun. These bristlecone pines, beautiful in life and in death. Okay, onward. It's almost 9, and I just turned around and noticed the lights of Las Vegas. Pretty cool looking down there, seeing those lights. There they are. We'll see a lot more of that as we rise up toward Mount Charleston. I haven't turned on my headlamp yet, but I think I'm going to turn it on pretty soon. We do have about a third of a moon, which is pretty cool. But I'm thinking that the trail is beginning to disappear, and so I may need that headlamp. Anyway, going well. As I said, it's about 9. Hoping to get to Charleston Peak by 11, but we'll see. No rush. There's the burn area. Yeah, things are getting dark, except for the lights down in Las Vegas. Just to give you an idea how bright this lamp is, it's supposed to be able to reach up to 2,400 feet. And definitely it's lighting things up out here. So we're going to have no trouble, light-wise at least, traveling through the night. Here we are on Charleston Peak. And it is, oh, what time is it? 11 o'clock. So anyway, it's kind of cold. I'm going to take a break here, refuel. There's a little shelter up here, and then head down to Lee Peak. Okay, onward. We've made our fourth peak, Lee Peak. It is, what time is it? 3 o'clock. So, looking forward to the light. Should be 2 hours, and we'll be maybe 1.5 hours. We'll be in light and warmth. Okay, heading back down, and the next peak is Mummy Mountain. Well, here's the place where I would break off from the North Loop Trail and add Mummy Mountain and Fletcher Peak to the 6-peak circuit. However, I am just wiped out. Out of energy. I think that Harris Peak, or Harris Mountain, just burned me out. So I got to figure out, I'm going to return and try this again, but I need to develop a plan for doing Harris Mountain without just draining all my energy on that mountain. Harris Mountain itself is like doing the entire Mount Charleston circuit. Takes about 9 hours just to get, just to do that Harris Griffith circuit. And, or just to get from the South Loop Trail up to the top of Griffith Peak. I can do the entire Charleston circuit in 7.5 hours. So I'm not sure if the 6-peak circuit is going to be possible. I don't know. Maybe somebody else will try it and succeed, and maybe I'll come back and do it. But I am entirely out of energy. So I'm going to have to call it a day. Head back to the south, well, not the South Climb Trail. Head back to the Trail Canyon trailhead. But it is an amazing, beautiful morning. There's nothing like experiencing the sunset and experiencing the sunrise. I don't get a chance to do that very often. I did make Harris Mountain, Griffith Peak, Charleston Peak, and Lee Peak. So it was a 4-peak circuit. And I'll do some reflection on LasVegasAreaTrails.com on that new 4-peak circuit page that I'll create, and strategize what would need to be different in order to complete a 6-peak circuit. The additional time that 6-peak circuit would take would be about 6 additional hours. I just don't have that in me. Not this time. Maybe in the future. Okay. Signing off on this beautiful morning.